Talking here with Devon Watson, seeing him from time to time with us. I know you're also busy with council on re-elections, but I'm not one to touch on that today. That's another story. Really, it's about what happened in Tynwald the other day, the climate change. You came out very strongly on social media that you were not happy at all with the way that was covered. So I thought I'd bring you in here just to take us through, for people who haven't followed it that closely, what were you wanting to see, what were they wanting to do, and what happened?
I mean, at very least, what you wanted to see was a robust debate. We've got 24 members in Tynwald, we've got 24 MHKs, and yet the entire discussion sort of only pivoted around 6 members in total. I mean, you had Hooper, Chris Thomas, Robert Shaw, Jeffrey Boot sort of representing DEFRA over there, Daphne Kane coming in, and Bill Shimmons bringing in a pretty strong performance, and big commendation to Laurie Hooper there.
Laurie's always been on this one, though, hasn't he? He was very, from the word go, he said, this is too far in the future.
Yeah.
The date that you're picking is almost like...
Yeah, very much so. But the big concern was the fact that this is probably the most pivotal bill of our generation, probably one of the most important issues, and yet there is far more response from Tynwald when dealing with the bill, debating the handling of pets, right? The fact is 3/4 of the island were not represented because largely the MHK stayed silent throughout the majority of the bill.
This would be the Coman block, though, won't it?
Yes, yeah. So we've got the 12 members of Coman block, and they unfortunately voted against the amendment to bring the date for carbon neutrality down to 2035 instead of 2050. So this would not only be great economically for people. I mean, wind is much, much cheaper than gas. People are currently being gouged by Manx gas to heat their homes. Fuel poverty is twice as high in the island as it is in the UK, and people pay twice as much for fuel as they do for here as they do in the UK to heat their homes, right? So wind would be a cheaper option, and it's cheaper in the UK, definitely be cheaper here, and yet we voted against it. There wasn't much of a debate. There was just 17 people voted against it, 7 voted for. And the people who voted against our future and against the planet didn't really give a rationale behind why they did so.
This is going to be kicked down anyway, isn't it? It's going to be dealt with by future versions of Tynwald. But anyway, this is on the last legs of this one. Why do you think they almost wouldn't take it? In my view, you think it'd be easier. Oh yeah, because we won't have to deal with this anyway. But why are they so against it?
I mean, it's a common feature in sort of politics in the West more generally, and particularly here in the Isle of Man. When it comes to major infrastructure upgrades, when you look at the education system, when you look at the giant pensions shortfall, and when you look at climate change, what you see legislators legislating until the next election, but not legislating for the next generation. They aren't legislating for like 10, 15, 20 years down the road because voters in 10, 15, 20 years aren't putting them back into power. We need to get people who are willing to make short-term unpopular decisions, but are for the long-term good. I mean, you shouldn't only be chasing the next vote.
I was talking to an MHK today, and the reason that he wasn't happy at things like no gas boilers after a certain time, and people have the power to go in the house to double-check what was fitted. I mean, things like that does sound
that
radical,
is absurd,
doesn't it?
And it is good. I mean, a lot of the most strident environmentalists, I mean, even probably the most environmentalist MHK, Laurie Hooper, opposed stringent enforcement that is a bit draconian. Mm-hmm. But in general, though, I mean, moving away from gas to electric boilers, particularly as wind power gets cheaper and more available, it makes sense long term. And these regulations only apply past 2025 and to new builds and refurbishment. It's not as though the cops are going to drag you out your house and execute you because you've got a gas boiler sort of thing. And that's how it was framed in the debate. There was a lot of scaremongering about environmental regulations being brought in.
Right. Where are we up to then now? What happened yet in Tynwald to serve everyone be up to date on this? Is it carrying on? Is it more amendments? Where are we up to?
I mean, I think the amendments that were done are passed. And I think that things may be finalised in the next sitting of Tynwald later on, but I think for now what we can assume is that I don't think that we're going to go back to it, but for now we've got a climate change bill. It is set for 2050.
What's the UK now, because they were moving up and down?
They're set for 2050, but they've moved down to 2045. It depends where the political wind in the room is. Boris Johnson is looking at lowering the date by which they become carbon neutral. I
always remember way back, Laurie Hooper, when he brought this up, said set an early date because it'll still be missed, but at least you set a date early and then you can reset. But if you set it so far in the future, everyone just sits back and relaxes until 2 minutes before the event.
It's about having ambition, and what we've seen is an incredible response with regards to COVID. And what we've seen is, because the Isle of Man took proactive action, we're being lauded across Europe as the best place in Europe to be. I mean, you might have a few local artists here that are the biggest grossing live artists of 2021, really. You've got some of the best nightclubs in Europe. Right here in Europe, because we took decisive action, and we need to carry through that strain. We need to carry that same spirit forward with regards to climate change.
Okay, I mean, you're so on this. Yeah, I didn't hear a lot from you guys before. Do you think you didn't quite get this up to speed to get enough public attention going on this?
I mean, generally, we did trust a lot of the folks that we've been interacting with for quite a while to have brought forward. We've spoken to politicians. And the Climate Change Coalition.
Have you got to step up your act though now?
Yes, yeah. We did sort of like take people at face value that they would take ambitious action. And now, particularly in election season, we probably are going to have to sort of ramp up our efforts.
Is this going to be an election issue?
Yes, it definitely has to be. I mean, if you look at the consultations that came out, you've got a lot of climate change deniers, and they're always vocal online. But if you look at the actual consultations that were filled out, 90% of the population supports taking some action on climate change. And the consultations also showed that they are very keen for us to invest in recovery efforts for the economy more generally that are environmentally focused. So we can improve the environment by improving public transport, by improving our infrastructure, by improving our sort of like education networks, upskilling tradesmen. Taking action on climate change is going to be a good stimulus that is going to be great for the economy overall, and is going to create loads of high-paying jobs on the Isle of Man that are going to be filled by Manx people. So it just makes sense.
You see, I wasn't going to talk about you doing your council work, but the fact is, this all sounds to me like you'll be standing for as an MHK. Because you know you need to be in there, but you have to go through the process of wanting to get back into the council first. I mean,
I'm not running for MHK.
Oh, you definitely
definitely not. Yeah, like
doesn't it seem like that's what you need to do though, for all these sort of reasons?
So the thing is, I feel like there's a lot of I've made a commitment to voters locally, and I think that people shouldn't treat local authorities as though they are a stepping stone to reach national office. Local authorities provide absolutely essential services like bin collection. We've got a housing crisis. They are on the forefront of providing housing.
I know you're keen on that, but sorry, just to make clear, you're not going to go for the housing crisis.
No, definitely not. And I want to sort of get more experience in terms of and deliver on promises I made to people on things that I would try and fight to achieve.
But for your party, you're looking to put up a lot of people?
Yeah. The Manx Labour Party is going to sort of, we're hoping to come through strong in local authority elections. Put a candidate up everywhere in Douglas and a few other sort of local authorities. And we would like to put a few members up for the Keys. I think people are excited for something new. But I think discussions on climate change go slightly... They are obviously political, but they go beyond politics and everyone has a stake in it.
You've got to make it a doorstep issue, right? I mean,
yes.
When people go and listen to what you're going to do for them, they want to hear what... These sort of things, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, and people do want to hear this. I mean, and people, these ideas are overwhelmingly popular. I mean, if you look at the problems that people have cold homes. People don't have double glazing. People, because we've removed a lot of the grants to get double glazing and sort of insulate our homes. Yeah. People are cold during winter. People don't have places to park. We need to invest in better public transport. So the things that people care about can be solved by creating solutions that can simultaneously deal with climate change.
So do you think, and I'd probably say Coman, but Tynwald got it wrong yesterday?
Yeah, Tynwald got it wrong. And I mean, I think there are notable exceptions, and I've noted them publicly, who did a great job. But I mean, I do want to sort of hear a rationale from the MHKs who voted against an ambitious date, why they didn't.